Hi, Facebook friends. Helen Arcantu here, CEO of the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. Happy Tuesday. If you are in Northern New Jersey, it is a little tropical outside these days. We are definitely in a bit of a heat wave. But I guess that does help remind us that we are still enjoying the summer and all the excitement that comes with that. I hope that you're having a great summer wherever you are. And in the midst of everything else that's going on in all of our busy lives, that you're also taking a little bit of time to enjoy the season, hopefully at a time of day that is comfortable for you outside for sure. As I shared, I'm Helen Arcantu. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm so grateful to have this time with you today. And we are so thrilled today to have a great conversation ready for you. We are kicking off this week's YWTV with a woman who has learned so much, not only about healing herself from trauma, but taking her life experience and helping transform the lives of others, with it as well. And, what a gift that is. And, we know that obviously our work at the YWCA, our work in healing space, our work in, other areas that we do for women, children, and families, there are many of us that need healing and need support. And it's so wonderful to know that programs like the one you're going to learn about today are out there. And we look forward to sharing it with you. And with that, I'd like to introduce you all to Maureen Coultas. She is the director of P.A.T.H, which stands for Professional.
No. Director of Hope's Promise. P.A.T.H is an international organization that I'm a member of, but I'm not a director.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
We've got that a little wrong here. So my apologies. So Maureen, tell us, you are the director of
Hope's Promise.
Hope's Promise.
Yes.
And so we will, she is also a member of P.A.T.H, which is the Professional Association of Therapeutic Horsemanship. She is an international certified riding instructor. And she began riding as a child and has been very involved in that over her life, to this point. She fulfilled her lifelong dream in the year 2000 and brought her first horse, Chief. And, with that, she really could never imagine the journey that was in front of her by taking that step. She had a challenging childhood, which, I know she's going to share a little bit about, her journey. And as a result of the PTSD that she, lived with, she used many different modalities to help her heal from her past and never really considered that horses might be one of them. It was just something she was drawn to. But Chief kept her in the moment, which was the first and has continued to be the only person, place, thing, experience that really has helped her deal with her PTSD. She, through her horses, wanted to offer to others that same healing that she has received. And so with that, she attended Centenary University and took the necessary courses to become a P.A.T.H International Certified Therapeutic Riding Instructor. She's been teaching individuals with special needs and those who are able-bodied since 2010. And she opened Hope's Promise, where she is the executive director, a P.A.T.H International Center that's in Chester, New Jersey. She opened that in 2012. And since then, both individuals and groups have been experiencing the healing through horses that she experienced herself. And we look forward to hearing more about how therapeutic riding and, equine assisted activities, can provide healing, because that's not necessarily something we often think of. So, I know that many of us who have pets, right, have understand and experience kind of that bond with an animal and how that animal can be a safe space and a healing space for us. But very often when we think of those animals, we think more of those four-legged in the house types. Or maybe sometimes some people have one that fly around their house, but we don't always think about something like, a horse's being, on that list. But tell us a little bit about your experience with your horse and, how it created a really special healing place for you.
Well, thank you, Helen, first of all, for having me on this morning. And I've always loved animals. And I started riding horses when I was 8 years old. And that's when I started saving for my first horse. I got my first horse when I was 40. So I got him. I have 4 daughters. I was a stay-at-home mother at the time. And I wanted to have an outlet when all my girls went into school full time that I could do just to get away. So I got my horse Chief. And I thought I was a much better rider than I actually was because it had been a while. So I had a lot to learn, but I wanted a horse that I could take out on the trails, which I was in no way ready for and didn't realize. And I knew that I had post-traumatic stress at the time, never thinking that a horse would help that. And I started taking lessons on Chief, and a lot of times I would want to cancel my lesson with my instructor because my days were more not good than good with my PTSD and repressed memories coming up. And I could get really intense headaches and just feel really bad. But I would force myself to go, have such a bad headache that I almost could feel like I had to go to the ER. That's how bad it was. Would get up on his back and it went away. So I just found that to be interesting. I was also very afraid, and he's a really, really good horse. My fear had nothing to do with the horse. My fear was part of my PTSD. So they know, they're sensitive to whatever is going on with people, I think more so than we may know ourselves at the moment. So he really took care of me. He wouldn't do anything that I wasn't ready for. And over time, I thought I would never go out on a trail alone with him. I thought I would never, fill in the blank. And over the years, I did everything that I thought I would never do. And I was having less and less moments of being stuck in PTSD. And so I thought somebody's got to do something with horses and therapy, not realizing that, that's been going on for years and years. So then I wanted to pay it forward, what I had received from Chief, which is why I got into doing what I do now. So it was just it miraculous, like the changes within me and the bond with Chief and myself.
Well, that's amazing. And I have to say, I think anyone who has had a connection with an animal that has been healing, I think can relate to the story you're sharing. And anyone who lives with any kind of trauma, I think, can also relate to what you shared about what you were experiencing.
Yes.
Those are very classic symptoms, of unhealed trauma, for sure. And even after you've been through healing, right, we know that triggers can occur.
Oh, yes.
So having a safe space and a grounding place like what you and Chief have created, and now what you've created with your organization is such an incredible gift. Such an incredible gift for sure. So obviously, we know that you experience, you've referenced, that you've had a difficult time, and that relationship, really, helped heal you. So some people who are really in a place that they're so focused on their trauma may not believe or may not think, of course everyone wants to believe that there's a way out, right? But they may not.
Yes.
They may not realize that this is a pathway for them. Can you talk a little bit more about the healing that happened through this relationship? Obviously, you shared that instinctually Chief knew, what you were going through, and you were able to develop that bond. Is that something that someone, for someone who isn't familiar with that, is that something that was it just the chemistry the two of you had? Is it something that you develop in your program? Like, how does that work in terms of it being a healing relationship for someone, and that they can imagine that space for themselves?
Oh, yeah. I, how can I say this? Have been a skeptic about pretty much anything and everything. And because I was abused by a number of people from birth through at least age 20, did not have trust of people, particularly once I started, my repressed memories started coming up. So if somebody said, oh, you should try this will really help, in my mind, I would just think, sure, it will, just a real skeptic. So the thing that's different with horses than, say, dogs or cats, is that horses are prey. In the wild, they're hunted. Dogs and cats are hunters. Humans are hunters. So it's not just myself, but so many people come to the farm, and we do programs on site at different schools and facilities, et cetera, who are very shut down and don't trust at all. So one of the things that's different about this is that you're not asking a human, it's not a human who you're putting yourself out there and risking to trust. It's an animal. And because horses are prey, they have a whole higher level. I've worked with, the biggest bully in a school, mm-hmm. who show that their outward, how they portray themselves outwardly, is totally different than how they're feeling inside. And have them, when I say be broken down, I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean it in a positive way, just from being near a horse. It's something that it's hard for me to put into words. And it doesn't have to be, of course, there are going to be where, the personalities may conflict. And that's what's good that we have 6 horses, mm-hmm. However, what's really interesting is a lot of people will take it negatively that a horse doesn't like them if a horse responds a certain way. And that's not it. The horse knows when somebody is not being authentic. So it's a thing. I didn't trust Chief at all. In fact, I thought Chief would kill me. And that really had nothing to do with Chief. That had to do with my history. And they're present. They're never somewhere else the way that we can be, caught in our past or worried about the future. They're always right in the present, and they keep showing up, and they're authentic, and they're consistent. And they're not saying, trust me, trust me, trust me. They just are. It's a spiritual experience. And, once you're around them and you start, even if you just pet them and you just start being in their space, it's rare that I've seen something not happen, mm-hmm. as opposed to something happening, where people have, as myself, had a real attitude. Even though I was 40, I was like in a lot of ways a street smart teenager with a real bad attitude. And he got right through.
Well, I think, as happens with, trauma survivors, is that, again, you're a survivor. So you figure out coping mechanisms to get through.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And so it sounds like, from what you're sharing, that, horses in particular are an animal that can kind of sift through, those, what we put around us, to be able to survive, however, and if everyone creates them differently, we're all different from that perspective, but the horses are still able to penetrate.
Well, and what's interesting, I find so interesting, is that, if you have had any kind of trauma and it's still, it's not been resolved, or you've not totally healed from it or whatever, a lot of people don't feel that they have any power. They don't believe that they have any power. And when you get an animal, it's amazing, first of all, that humans and horses can have relationships, because we're hunters and they're hunted. So that in itself is miraculous. And then to first have a miniature horse work with you, a partner with you to do what you're asking through various exercises, where you, the person, is being a leader, a quote unquote herd leader, and then transfer what you did with a miniature horse to a 1,200-pound horse, something happens inside. And I don't need to tell the person that it's happening to, oh my gosh, you just really empowered yourself. They already know it. So the confidence that people get, the empowerment that they get, feeling totally, they have no control of any part of their lives, to, oh my gosh, if I just did this with this 1,200-pound horse, maybe it's like seeing yourself in a new way, when maybe everything else in your life is telling you you're something or somebody else.
Yeah, it's so wonderful to hear you describe it. And then, I also think about, when trauma survivors are really in a place where it's just so hard to imagine, having that connection and feeling that, intimacy, with another being, because of, the trauma, for sure, is, being such a barrier to that. So I'm grateful that you're describing it, so that, and describing it as someone who's been there and, seen what can happen.
I mean, if I can just say, to go a little bit more in detail, to offer hope to others, I shouldn't be here today. My trauma was so bad that I've had near-death experiences. I should not be here today. And those who I know who suffered the same type of abuse are physically on the planet. However, they did not survive.
Yeah.
And I thought that I would die from what I went through. And then when I was remembering it, I thought it would kill me. I never, ever, if I had 1 minute of peace through a day, and I'm not exaggerating, that was a good day. Mm. I was living in an internal hell while outwardly trying to be, quote unquote, normal and a good mother to my children. And I never, ever, ever believed I would be in a place where I am today. Never. It wasn't a possibility. And I am. So
I'm so grateful for you sharing that, the depth of that, because as we know, there are many people, living around us every day. Yes. And it's so important for us and for our viewers to just be cognizant of that, because as we always say, you never know what someone's going through.
Yes.
To have that perspective, and, being able to function in the midst of managing that trauma, whether it's parenting or, trying to keep a job, or,
yes.
Any kind of relationships in your life, or paying your bills, the basics are not easy when that
right.
is happening, or, when that is happening physically, mentally, emotionally, throughout your being.
Right. Definitely. Definitely.
And so I really do appreciate you offering that place of hope. And I do hope anyone who's out there listening, hears it and knows that there are organizations out there. Obviously, here is one, which is why we're sharing it with you. Our YWCA's Healing Space has a 24-hour hotline of 201-487-2227 that someone is there to pick up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and listen to what you need and help get you to the support necessary. So I want to make sure that people are aware. We'll put that phone number in the comments as well. But there are resources out there for you, and it may not feel at this moment that there is another place, another way to be, but Maureen is sharing, her story and so generously, and openly, and we are so grateful to you for that, about getting there.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, this relationship that you had transformed you. You then, did your research and figured out how you can jump into this space now, and help others have that, have that same healing, that you've been able to have, and with your experience. So as you said, you thought this is a great idea, but it turns out it was a thing. It wasn't, when you kind of, looked into it. How did you determine to kind of take your idea of Hope's Promise and then connect it with this P.A.T.H certified program? What's that link all about for those of us that are, not so familiar with it, and why is that important, and what did that bring to your concept?
So, of course, I have my life experience, with everything, including horses. However, just like, teachers, people have to be certified and or get degrees in order to do what they do. So P.A.T.H International is where I needed to get my certification, and my hours of not at first volunteering in therapeutic riding lessons and then teaching therapeutic riding lessons before I could go out on my own and start my own center. And then I have to every year get my continuing education hours in order to stay, to keep my certification current, up to date. So I'm trying to remember, in all honesty, I do not remember how I found out about P.A.T.H International. I know I did call an insurance company, and I asked about bringing Chief to various locations where people weren't able to get out. And that was not a possibility. So they may have told me, but I found out about it. And, it was a year and a half, I believe, of taking classes in the classroom, and then obviously the teaching and volunteering. So that gave me the tools that I needed to go ahead and open up my own center. And I worked for a little while at a stable where they provided therapeutic riding lessons. So I taught there first, and I knew I wanted to have my own program on my own property.
Mm-hmm. So now you have it.
Yes.
And that's, we're so grateful that you do, because now you are able to, to share what you now know with others, and help them. So tell us a little bit about how people access it, who comes and uses your space, what they can expect, when they come. Tell us a little bit more about the program that you've, evolved over these years.
Yeah, we actually have a number of programs. So on the farm, I used to do a lot more of therapeutic riding lessons. However, now it's limited because I got so busy with programs that are off the farm, which I'll talk about in a minute. So we have therapeutic riding lessons where people learn to their ability how to ride a horse. So they may start on the ground with grooming the horse and learning about safety on the ground. And then some just get right up into the saddle. We have the horse ready when the student arrives. And I've had people who are unable to walk by themselves get up on a horse. And when a horse walks, the horse is just sitting up there. You don't even have to actively do anything but sit on the horse's back. After being on a horse's back where the horse is walking around for a while, the horse mimics the way that we walk when we walk. So our hips and legs are moving as if we were walking. So I've seen people get off of the horse at the end of a riding lesson and with a walker be able to walk, when before the lesson they couldn't. But it aids in, you name it, it aids in it. Breathing, speaking, digestion, posture, body position, core strength, balance. I don't know if I said coordination yet. Learning disabilities, emotional issues, just all different. It's amazing, the list of how what riding a horse can help with. So and it's always, again, to the rider's ability. So sometimes the rider starts on a lead rope. They always start on a lead rope, and they're doing games. up on top of the horse, and they're not learning how to steer or anything. They're just learning games and throwing something to me, or, matching cards that have one part of a picture on one side, all different activities. And then they can start learning how to steer and have the horse go and stop. I've had people who've never spoken before, speak on the back of a horse, because they're so excited to be up there and do what I'll say, okay, say the horse's name, walk on, and they do it. And teachers will be crying, and I don't know why. Then I find out later that student never. So we'll have individual lessons, just a few, on Saturday mornings, and then school groups come here for horsemanship and riding. And part of a big program that I have, that I started a few years ago, is the Equine Empowerment Program, where we take 2 of our miniature horses to schools once a month and work with a group. And it's usually students who are, I don't know if the term at risk is used, currently, but at-risk youth. And we'll work everything from safety to grooming to leading the horse to doing all different empowerment activities. Then they end up coming here to the farm and riding the big horses. And then they choose a place in the area of their school that they want to bring the horses to for a therapy visit, because the horses also visit nursing homes, assisted living facilities, rehabs, all different types of facilities. They choose the place, they write letters or make phone calls with assistants to different facilities to see who would be open for a visit. And I also had a group from Jersey City teach one of our miniature horses, Michelangelo, how to pull people in wheelchairs. So I said to the people at the nursing home, pretend your wheelchair is a chariot and you're going to drive this little horse. And the students, junior high school students, did all of this. It was all on them, and brought and ran a visit at a nursing home. It was phenomenal. And their parents, the teachers, administrators, the local police, all raved about how these students changed in the year and a half that we worked together. So
what a tremendous experience for everybody involved, no matter where, in that equation. It's transformational for sure.
It was amazing. And so then the miniature horses, as I said, they do therapy visits, they do educational visits. 2 of our miniature horses have written their own autobiographies, and they bring their books around to libraries and schools. So we go to camps, universities, you name it, we're there.
Well, I love that. And I want to make sure that our viewers know how to connect with you. It sounds like there's so many opportunities to embrace the work you're doing, whether someone comes to the farm or whether they connect with you so that you can come out, and provide kind of healing on the go, and obviously we have your website up here, which is hopespromisefarm.com. So anyone and everyone should go check that out for sure.
And they can, I'm sorry, Helen. I was just going to say, they can see on social media too, where there's videos, there's photos.
And so where on social media can we find you? What platforms are you on?
Facebook and Instagram.
Got it.
And
So I know I'm making sure I'm following you, because I want to stay up to date with what you're doing. And I hope all the viewers are doing the same. And, again, and I say this to viewers all the time, there's so many places that you can make a difference with your time, donations, your volunteering, just being able to spread the word from an outreach perspective. You all have power out there. That's why we bring you these stories, so that they can help inspire you, can help support the folks in your life. This is a tremendous opportunity for you to, obviously share with someone now that you've heard, this wonderful story that, that we've learned today, to pass it along to somebody else in your life. That's how it works. And that's what the magic of YWTV is as well. So please, integrate this into a conversation you're having today, now that you've heard this story, and share what now you know as well. So tell us what's next. I mean, the time goes quick on YWTV, as I always say.
Yeah.
I always could talk more, and there's always potential. I know we will keep talking and find other ways, to be partnering. But what's next that our viewers should be watching for coming?
We are hoping to start programs with different groups. So, for example, with veterans, helping at-risk youth, bringing together the horses to a facility. So that would be 3 different groups who would be receiving healing on some level from working with the horses. Just trying to continue to reach out to different local areas and schools, et cetera, to bring more and more. We've been growing with our equine empowerment program, and I'd like to continue to grow, and just really to continue bringing the healing power of horses to different places, just growing more and different. Yeah. So
well, we will be watching. We know how to stay connected to you.
Yeah.
You've got Instagram and Facebook. People can easily, put that into your feed and just stay connected. Go check out their website. And, Maureen, I just really want to thank you again for your generosity in sharing your own story, and, also modeling, what you've been through and how it can be transformational for you and for others, by, finding, and we are all wired differently. So that's the beauty of there being so many different modalities out there for healing, is that sometimes you have to keep, moving around, which can be hard and frustrating, but there is absolutely something out there to be able to help. So connecting to places like Hope's Promise Farm, connecting to, reaching out to hotlines like ours or others that are in our community, will help you find the right place for you, so that you too can have a story of healing, from where you're at today. Sure.
And Helen, if I could just add, if there's anybody out there, because when I've had prior speaking engagements, people did reach out to me afterwards who were also survivors. And just, if anybody's feeling really alone and like nobody can relate, and they don't even have to go into their story, or they could, people haven't had it, feel free to reach out to me, because I know what it's like to feel really alone with something and so scared and so actually hopeless when it's actually not true. It feels true and it's not true. It's not a forever thing. So I'm happy to be there for anybody,
Well, thank you for being that beacon of hope, out there and offering that space. And hopefully people can embrace that. And with that, folks, as time, as I said, comes quickly to an end, we thank you for joining us today and listening to this great story. We do encourage you to share it with others. So many great programs happening at the YW, even though it's summertime. And also, we're obviously getting ready for the fall as well. Please check out our social media and our website so that you can link to the ones that are right for you and your family. And we will see you tomorrow. We have another great conversation scheduled for you. So we look forward to talking with you then on YWTV. Have a great day, everyone. Stay cool. And thank you again for the amazing work you're doing, Maureen.
Thank you, Helen. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.